Welcome home, Raiders. Tonight, so it is the final week before the playoffs in HGC. Also, the Mythic Dungeon Invitational kind of happened. Kind of? Yes, kind of. Not so well in Australia. And it is all kinds of cray-cray in the Overwatch League. All that and so much more as Convert to Raid presents BattleNet Sports. Hello, friends, and welcome back to BattleNet Sports. My name is Pat Crane. I'm your host, and this week we actually have a few things to talk about. Hearthstone is on break right now, but they are getting ready for Taipei, and now we have the new expansion out. Everything is kind of coming along. We will have more later on. Also, WoW Arena is on break still, so that's not available. However, we did have Mythic Dungeon Invitational this last weekend. It was scheduled in Australia and New Zealand, but Australia has really crappy internet, and that can pose problems. And I'll talk to Fist about that in just a minute. Also, the Overwatch League is coming to the end of Stage 3 now. And the playoff picture for Stage 3 is actually fairly surprising. All of the roster changes have happened, and now we're starting to see the placements as far as where the teams land, 1, 2, 3, 4. And I got to tell you, I'm a little shocked. I am. Also, HGC is heating up. We have finished up all the qualifications for the big playoffs, and we'll also have the Crucible next week, which is actually big news for HGC for next year, right? So all of that stuff is coming up. One little program note before we get going. I missed last week because I was traveling, and I will miss next week because I am also traveling. So I apologize in advance for missing out on so many of these things, but sometimes life throws you lemons. Hello, friends, and welcome to the discussion about Mythic Dungeon Invitational, and we're going to talk a little bit of Overwatch League. Of course, WoW Arena is still on break for right now. Coming soon to a screen near you. But let's talk a little bit, and of course, we have Fist with us from Lagging Balls, and all the other things you do, doubletap.com, that's dbltap.com, plus occasionally on BattleNet News, right?
Yes, I am. Yes.
Well, welcome. And let's talk MDI now, because Mythic Dungeon Invitational ANZ, Australia, New Zealand, was kind of this weekend.
Kind of is a good word. That would describe it well.
So what happened?
Okay, so in all fairness, I missed seeing it. I'm on vacation. This is new. I'm in Canada.
You're in Canada.
My homeland. Land of Surefour and XQC. So apparently, while there are some standings right now, they were not able to finish the finals because the internet was so bad that Blizzard decided to postpone the matches for the sake of the integrity of, the MDI.
Right.
They're postponing it due to problems with the internet for Australian players. So apparently,
which
I
find it hilarious only because bad internet in Australia is the one thing that all Australian geeks know in the world, around the world, whatever.
Yeah.
So,
and if you have Aussie friends that you're trying to play WoW with, and they're trying desperately to play on your server, and it's not working, and it's slow, and then their internet just doesn't work, and you don't see them for a few days, and you figure, oh God, what's happening in Australia?
Right.
It's just their internet.
Yep.
But
their internet is total crap.
So I really feel bad because the winners of the MDI last year, Free Marcy, were playing.
Yep.
I read on Reddit that about 17 minutes into the restart, Free Marcy's Windwalker DC'd for like 3 minutes, and they waited. And then when he came back, they were still ahead. They're up against Free Pumps. They wiped on Fenrir while Free Marcy was clearing trash. And then the casters announced another restart. And then after a break, they announced a postponing. So it just, it sounds like apparently they spent 75 minutes in Halls of Valor without completing it. So, your typical Halls of Valor, of course. Yes.
That's horrible. So we have a pause in in MDI, Australia, New Zealand, and we don't know when that's going to be picked up yet, right?
Not yet. Everybody online is sort of, they're thinking that maybe Blizzard will do it during like maybe next weekend and not cast it. They'll just they'll let it keep going. They said any series completed until the postponing counts. So
all right. Okay.
So it's still counting.
Yeah. So that makes sense.
I don't know. Free Marcy's still in the running. Obviously, they're doing really well. They were in the semifinals against Free Pumps, so I'm excited to see them take it all again this year, maybe.
Okay.
But ultimately, Sloopbag said the rest of the APAC regionals will be postponed to a later date due to aliens invading Australia's ISPs and probing all of the staff because intermittent outages all over.
Well, what they really hope is that Google will headquarter in Sydney, and then all of Australia will get gig internet for free. That's what they're hoping for. It's not going to happen, but that's what they're hoping for. So that's the MDI in a nutshell, and I think we'll just have to wait. What is this weekend is EU, correct?
Yes, it's EU, so that's going to be really exciting, and I'm so excited to watch it. But we don't know when Australia is going to get to try again, but hopefully it's soon.
Right. So is that everything for MDI? I think so.
I'd say so.
Okay. Let's talk Overwatch League, and I want to talk about one team in particular. But first, let's talk a little bit about players, because
all right,
now we have all of the players we've seen some movement, right? We've seen a lot of movement with Valiant being kind of instigators of that stuff in the last couple of weeks. And this last week we saw the Fuel make some moves as well, correct?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, they sure did.
Okay.
Okay, so on April 15th, we got a tweet and a short letter on overwatchleague.com announcing the release of Rascal and the release of Kai, who was their coach. And nobody was surprised to see Kai go. He's a great guy. He's a good coach, but it's kind of obvious that things really weren't working out. And like whether or not you think that Dallas's problems were because of Kai doesn't matter. Like it's clear that this team, not the only team in the league, but this team definitely needs to make some massive changes to move forward.
Right.
But maybe, I don't know, maybe not this change. I'm not sure. So they released Kai. They wrote up something nice about him, like, we'll always appreciate Kyle's commitment to the organization, et cetera, et cetera. And I think that was Mike Rufail, the owner of Dallas. The thing though is they released Rascal, and he's a great player. He's from Spitfire. Like, why would they release him?
Right.
And they wrote up, we had hoped that Rascal could add flexibility to our DPS lineup on the team this season. Unfortunately, his commitment to the team did not meet our expectations, and his unwillingness to communicate with the team while playing in recent matches became a large distraction. And that was from Mike Rufail as well. So, like, I don't want to assume anything about any of the players, but like, that doesn't give you a great
That's a tough statement.
Opinion. Yeah, that doesn't give you a great opinion of Rascal, does it? Like,
no.
It makes it sound like he just came from Spitfire and he's like, I don't want to be here. I don't want to do stuff like that. So I was kind of worried about that. And so prior to joining Dallas Fuel, Rascal was on London Spitfire, like I said, and that's a team that communicates in Korean. So this was Rascal's first ever time being on an English speaking team. So the next day, or maybe even later that day, I can't recall, but Fisher, another ex Spitfire, stepped up and he wrote on Twitter, he wrote about how his teammates on the London Spitfire were key components to the team's Overwatch League championship in Stage 1. He says that if it had not been for Bishu, who speaks Korean and English fluently on the Gladiators, then it would have been him getting removed from the team. He's talking about how difficult it is to express yourself and what you need to tell your team if you don't speak the language. Effect is Korean on the Dallas Fuel, but he's not as fluent. And when you're playing in the heat of the moment, it takes somebody who is quite fluent in both languages to do those split-second translations, right?
Sure.
So he's saying, Rascal was not unwilling to communicate, he just can't. And Fisher pointed out that bilingual players like Bishu are going to be, if not, well, they already are, the most valuable players in the league right now because they can unlock the potential of really talented players. Because Dallas just threw away somebody from the London Spitfire, that means a lot.
And a good player, and a good player from the London Spitfire as well. I mean,
exactly.
And part of that might be just personality as well. So you could find that somebody who's maybe a little quieter in general really seems kind of put off by communicating in a language that they don't understand. Yeah. Although I always thought that the only word you really need to know in Overwatch League is monkey.
Monkey.
Just
please kill Cool Matt.
Right. And so it's as long as you know those things, you should be okay. But apparently it's kind of tough. And I'm still surprised that they worded it like that though. Because
me too. Because that's harsh.
Yeah, it is pretty harsh, and it sounds like there was something else going on with that, and maybe there was, but I think I think we're just gonna have to let it lie for now. And unfortunately, Rascal's done for the year because now players are set for the rest of the year. Yes. We've had our movement period, and now the rest of the season, no more trades or anything.
Yeah.
So.
That's true, and it sucks for Rascal, but he did say on a recent stream that he plans to rejoin the league when he can, and in the meantime, he's going to improve his English. So at least this is kind of like a silver lining. At least he can spend this time learning English. And Kai Kai is reportedly in talks with the Houston Outlaws on joining the team as an assistant coach. So,
well, and I guess Rascal could join as a coach, but not that he would want to. He's more of a player, so. Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I wanted to talk to you about the games this last week because there was at least one standout.
Oh yeah.
And that was the San Francisco Shock. No, it wasn't. Although they did beat the Fuel, and they actually beat Philly, which was really great, I thought.
Oh yeah, they're doing really well. They're fourth in the current standings right now, I think. Yeah.
So, I mean, they are doing well. However, the one that surprised the hell out of me is actually Boston Uprising because they continue to just decimate, which is great.
So last week in Stage 2, Boston beat NYXL 3-2.
Yeah.
And nobody saw that coming.
No.
And then in Stage 3 last Thursday, they beat London 3-2.
Right. And they just keep winning. I mean, they beat Seoul Dynasty as well.
Yeah.
So
I mean, everybody's beating Seoul Dynasty right now.
Well,
but
yes.
Whatever.
I mean, Seoul Dynasty is slipping a little bit, it seems. But but at the same time, Seoul Dynasty was one of the. I mean, at the beginning of the season, one of the top hopes for being one of the top teams, right? And
so was Dallas, to be fair, which seems funny now.
Right. It does seem very funny now. But Boston Uprising was always kind of seen as this mid-level team, not really, neither here nor there. Good players, solid players, but not really anything eye-catching, at least on paper. And
not at all.
In the first couple of stages, even, they've been a roster team or whatever you want to call it.
Yep.
And like stage 3 they are on fire.
They really are. They're in the top current standings. Like they're number 1. They're beating the Valiant and YXL. And
right.
I'm just really happy for them. And the thing I like most about this is that as we progress, and I know I say this like every week, but as we progress, like it's less predictable in this league who's going to come out on top and who's going to be good in what stage. And I think that's the most exciting, and it's great for everybody.
And when you look at stage 3 in particular, it's kind of interesting to see how these different teams are affected, because like you were saying, Boston's first, then the Valiant, then Excelsior, then the Shock, which is a shock. And then in the mid-range, you have Seoul Dynasty, number 6, Philly, number 7, Outlaws, number 8, and number 9 is the London Spitfire. And it's just kind of amazing that the Spitfire have fallen from number 1 to number 9.
No, I did not see that coming.
In just a few short weeks, in just 3 weeks. So, it's
I love
weird.
that. And the thing is, though, like, it's nice that the top spots keep changing, because, it's nice for everybody who's a fan of the teams. It's sort of like hey, everybody gets a chance to see their team do really well, except those 3 bottom teams, like, unfortunately, the only thing that's been consistent in this league is the teams that are the worst.
Well, the team that's been most consistent is Shanghai. Although they have added some excitement with Gaguri and a couple of new folks over there, which is great. And they are still playing well.
Yes, they are.
They just cannot seem to pull out a W at all. So.
No. So it's going to be, their win is going to be against Dallas or Florida. Eventually.
Or maybe the Spitfire at this point. I mean, who knows?
Or maybe London. Maybe. But yeah, no, it's clear that they're getting better every time I see them. Like, I think they're doing really well since their new acquisitions, especially with Geguri. It seems like it's still just a matter of communication, and I think that's just like out of every issue. Like, I know that the league has a lot of issues. There are not a lot of, but there are a few bad eggs, and then things have been going down, and like things with visas and things like that. But it just seems like the thing that's affecting everybody most is communication because of the language barriers.
Right.
So, I don't know. Like, I'm sure that the league is trying their best to like figure this problem out, but like Fisher said, like, the players who are fluently bilingual in English and Korean are going to be the most valuable.
Yes.
From here on out, probably.
Yes, that is totally true. I want to talk to you about a couple of things. I want to talk to you about this week's schedule, and then also next week's schedule, just to see what there is, because there won't be a BattleNet Sports next week, and we are approaching the finals for stage 3, May 6th, I think.
That's my birthday, Pat.
Hey, look at that! Happy birthday! Let's have a stage finals on your birthday.
That sounds good to me.
Okay, so this week, are you seeing any games out there? I mean, there's like the Dallas Fuel versus the Mayhem, kind of the battle for the bottom. And like on Thursday, San Francisco Shock versus the XL, which could be interesting considering where San Francisco is right now.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting. The thing that stands out to me most is that number 1, Boston number 1, is up against Shanghai and Dallas. And that's going to hurt. It's not even fair.
They're probably heavy favorites on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would bet on those games if I were a betting man.
Yes.
And also a man.
Right.
Yeah.
Sure. And I'm just kind of scrolling through this next week. Seoul Dynasty versus Philly could be a very good game as well. Gladiators versus the Outlaws on Friday.
I love seeing those teams play against each other.
Yeah. And then on Saturday, the Shock versus the Spitfire. I'm kind of interested in that one because I don't know how that's going to turn out, really, because London Spitfire, if they turn it on, they're going to destroy the Shock.
That's true. But I don't know. They're in a slump lately. I think the Shock's going to take it.
Right.
I think it's going to be a really interesting game.
It's very, very possible. And then the next week, so this weekend is week 4, and then the next week is week 5. And just kind of scrolling through once again, I'm not necessarily seeing any big, huge challenges here off the top of my head. Anyway,
no, nothing crazy. Nothing crazy. It would like stage 1, the Spitfire versus Dynasty would have been good.
Sure,
but now it's
I know.
Seoul Dynasty,
but it still should be a very good game. I mean, they are very good teams. So you should see some excellent play. I'm kind of actually looking forward to Boston Uprising versus the Gladiators, because the Gladiators have been kind of on the edge of the top part of the middle.
Yeah,
I know that sounds weird, but when you only have 12 teams, it actually makes a difference.
It makes perfect sense. Yeah, no, they're a solid team. I think they're my favorite team right now, and I don't know, they are very consistent. Like you'll get the odd lose here and there, but like they're one of those teams. There's a handful of teams in this league where you never know if they're going to win or not, despite who they're up against.
Right.
Like if the Gladiators were up against anybody but like maybe New York, maybe Boston at this point, they would have a chance. I wouldn't count them out.
This really does seem like a very topsy-turvy stage, just in general for the league, which is actually excellent for the league, just to show that there is a lot of diversity in these 4 different stages, and I'm hoping that we see that we're continually surprised by the different teams' performances. So, I mean,
and that's the most fun.
Yeah, it is. And then, okay, so on Sunday, May 6th, essentially what's going to be happening is that the title matches start at, I think that's 1 p.m. Pacific. So everything starts at 1 p.m. Pacific, and this is on Sunday, May 6th. So that's when it starts, and then the finals are at 5 p.m. Pacific. I think my conversion is correct.
I think you're right, but it's 4 teams this time now, instead of 3.
Right.
So that's exciting.
Yeah, that's cool, man. And who knows? Maybe San Francisco will stay in it and participate in the playoffs. That would be fantastic.
It would absolutely be amazing. And what if Boston takes it? That'll show people.
Man, if Boston wins it, they'll be able to rub it in New York's face. As they always want to do. There's a big rivalry for those guys who don't know between those 2 cities. So
yeah.
Okay, so any other thing for Overwatch League before we get out of here? Oh, there's some new swag.
Yes, customizable jerseys. They're $100.
Yep.
They're handmade in California, so it takes 10 business days before it's shipped. So you can go onto the swag site. Your custom name is limited to 10 characters.
Okay.
And you can use a number as well that's limited to 2 digits. Profanity and defamation of any kind is prohibited. So naturally.
So there goes the one that I was going to use.
What, Poop 69?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
That.
I already ordered that, actually. But people on the internet have been trying to outsmart this system and like trying to, because you can go onto the site and like customize it and it'll show you what it looks like. You choose the team and then it shows you. So people have been like coming up with the strangest things, trying to get past the profanity filter and taking screenshots. I highly recommend. It's hilarious to try. All right. Do you think you'll get one, Pat?
Sure. I don't know.
I would love one that says fist, but I'd also really love one that said Poop 69. So I don't know. Maybe I'll get 2.
I might have to get 2 jerseys.
Yeah. $200 well spent.
Right. Well, 100 for the joke. I'm not sure if $100 for the joke is amazing or not.
It's always, comedy's always worth it, Pat.
Yeah, maybe right. All right. Well, I think that does it for this week. And I will be talking to you in a couple of weeks Once again, Thist, you can check her out on Lagging Balls on the podcast over there and the stream, the LB stream, and of course over at dbltap.com. Once again, thanks, Thist.
No problem.
We are right before the playoffs for HGC. It's an amazing time, and of course, Jules Scott is here from Torn Think Tank and Nerf This, and of course, right here at BattleNet Sports. Welcome, Jules.
Thank you, Pat. Thanks for having me back.
Now, let's talk a little bit about this last weekend, because this was the final weekend for people to qualify for playoffs, correct?
That's correct. And it really wasn't that exciting, to be completely honest, because most of the teams had their seeds locked in except for Tempo Storm, sitting at number 1, could have lost their number 1 seed if they lost to Gale Force eSports. And if you don't have the number 1 seed, then you have to play in the playoffs. You don't get the automatic bid to mid-season brawl. So they really wanted that bid. They wanted to be able to say, we don't have to go through this ladder system. And it could have been interesting. It wasn't. Tempo Storm dominated and 3-0 over GFE. So the rest of the weekend was spent with like the wackiest, craziest drafts you have seen in a long time.
Oh, really?
We had Murky, we had Cho'Gall, we had Tyrande, we had I mean, it was just like these. Butcher was there, Samuro. I mean, there's bunches of weird drafts because nobody wants to show off their strats for the playoffs.
Right.
So
right. Well, I
they're all
suppose
hiding
that.
strats.
So they're all like, you know what? Our placement is locked in. We're good to go. We're just going to go out there and have fun. And we're gonna do some stupid stuff and try some things because why not?
Yeah.
Right.
So it was. I mean, for a while it was kind of fun, and then it got a little boring and it got a little annoying. And so we were kind of, as fans, the only really big game we cared about was the GFE versus Tempo Storm, and we only had games on Friday and Saturday. So yesterday was like a rare day off of HGC. The rest of them were kind of, I would call them troll games, if you will.
All right.
So
the top,
we're headed to next weekend.
The top 6 all go to the playoffs. Well, except for minus the number one, because the number 1 seed doesn't go to the playoffs. It's actually 2 through 6 go to the playoffs, right?
That's right. Yeah. So that is next weekend.
All right.
That we're going to have this happen.
And as far as from the NA, LFM eSports, your favorite team, right? You're no, not really, but
not really.
You were rooting for them a couple of times.
I'm rooting for these guys. I'm rooting for them because they've tried so hard.
And
they really have tried and improved quite a bit.
So those guys and No Tomorrow are out of the playoff system for NA. So we have Heroes Hearth, Team 12, Team Freedom, Gale Force, and Simplicity. And let's talk a little bit about how the playoffs actually work.
Yep.
I know that we've talked about it before. So
yes.
When it comes to this weekend, what are we going to see?
So you're going to see a reverse ladder style of playoff contention. Number 5 and number 6 play each other. The winner of that match plays number 4. Mm-hmm. The winner of that match plays number 3. And the winner of that match plays number 2. So you could potentially start from the bottom and have to work all the way up to the number 2 seed in the NA division to get your spot in the playoffs. It's hard. It's like
that'd be a long haul, man.
It is a long haul. I mean, they've broken the games up they have 2 games Friday, and then 1 game Saturday, one game Sunday.
Okay.
So there's a little bit of rest time in there. If you are the team from the bottom, my guess is that Gale Force eSports would be the one that could do that, work their way up in there. It's not likely, but it's possible. You'd want a lot of rest time. You'd want some prep time. You'd want some chances to strategize with your team, with your coaches, that kind of thing. So
for sure.
So it's good.
Good. Yeah. And over on the EU side, by the way, Team Dignitas is number 1. Fnatic, Method, Team Liquid, Zealots, and Tricked Esports kind of round out those guys. So
right. And so we've got a lot of playoff action going on. It's getting nuts. Like we're It's exciting. And then the following weekend, after next weekend, the following weekend is the Crucible. And as you mentioned, No Tomorrow and LFM will be playing in the Crucible matches. We don't know yet we know who they're playing against, but we don't know what the matchups are because the open division teams, based on where they place, get to choose their contender. So That's coming up the following weekend.
That's pretty
after
cool.
the playoffs.
That's pretty cool. So the Crucible, and we have a bunch of teams in there as well, and looks like XD is on top as far as the open division goes, right, for NA?
Yeah, and XD is actually filled with I think every single one of those players are former HGC contenders. Like they were on teams and then they were let go and they formed their own team. So these guys have experience. They have knowledge. They know what they're doing. It's just a matter of who their opponent is going to be and if they can show up and do it. So Crucible is always interesting, always. Most successful we have right now is Heroes Hearth Esports, who came out of Open Division, won their spot, now sits at number 2 with a really good shot of going to the mid-season brawl. So
that's awesome.
It's pretty incredible.
That's cool. That's very cool. And I know that I won't be here next week doing a show. So it's kind of nice to get a little insight into what's happening the following weekend so that we can kind of give people the news.
Yes, and I'm traveling next weekend too, so I won't be at my computer as much to be able to watch the games. So it'll be a good chance for me to catch up on the following week to get you the Crucible stuff and all the stuff related to the playoffs then.
All righty. Anything else as far as getting ready for this weekend or next weekend for that matter?
I think you just gotta buckle in and enjoy the ride at this point because my prediction is that Heroes Hearth is taking the spot, but there's going to be surprises galore. I know it. I'm kind of bummed that I'm going to be traveling this weekend because I want to watch all the action, but there's always VODs. So
yeah. There are always VODs. Definitely that. Yep. All right. Well, Jules Scott, thank you very much, and we will talk to you in a couple of weeks. And let's try to make sure that when we come back here that we talk all about all of the different playoffs because it's going to be. I'm looking for some surprises.
I'm hoping so. I'm hoping I've got you some.
All right. Well, we'll see you next time. Okay.
All right. Sounds good.
All right. Normally, I would say this is the end of the news and wrap it up and do all this other stuff, but it's not the case. It's not the case because I actually want to talk to you guys about StarCraft because I have news for you. Number one, and then number two, I have a couple of questions because I want to know how you guys feel about StarCraft. For me, I've always kind of felt like StarCraft has been big over in Asia, but not big in NA, not necessarily all that big in EU. That seems to be more HGC, OWL, seem to be fairly huge in both places, and WoW, for that matter. But StarCraft, maybe it's just that I have a bias against it or something like that. And so I haven't really brought up StarCraft very much on this particular show. And I want to know from you guys what you think about StarCraft and whether or not you would like to see more StarCraft in future shows. If so, I will go out, I will reach out to people and bring them into this show if I can. And try to talk to them about all the different things that are going on with professional StarCraft. Okay, so please contact me directly either at Pat Crane on any of the social stuff, and that's Crane with a K, or you can reach out through converttorade@gmail.com or any of the ConvertTorade social media stuff that you see, or Discord or whatever. Just let me know what you guys think about StarCraft in particular being on this show if you want to see it be featured and bolstered. I think that's the correct word. Now, on to StarCraft 2 news. And I have to go over here to my notes. Okay. For the GSL, that's the Global StarCraft League. Season 2 has begun. And that is because GSL Super Tournament has ended. And the big winner of the GSL Super Tournament was Stats. Stats made it, squeaked out a winner over Dark, and then it was Classic and Hero were also in the mix. So all of that stuff was happening at the GSL Super Tournament, and now we have Season 2 beginning. WCS, which is the tournament that is held at BlizzCon, is WCS. The WCS qualifiers for Austin have been playing out in NA, EU, Asia, and on Twitch streams all over the place as everybody competes for spots for WCS Austin, which is coming up soon. And then we also have Nation Wars. Now, Nation Wars is kind of interesting, right? Because what ended up happening was that fans voted in 3 players from each country participating, and there were a lot of countries participating to be able to play in this tournament. Kind of unique, kind of cool, and I don't think it will come as any surprise to anybody out there who won Nation Wars 5. It was, again, Korea. which is why I kind of asked the question of how big is it for you guys? How big is StarCraft in your life? Do you want to hear more about it? Do you want to know more about it? So please make sure to reach out. Let me know either in the comments of the video or through social media or Discord or whatever. Email. Sure. Now I will move it to the end of the show. The music is playing. Everything is great. It's the end of the show. That's what we have. Once again, I want to thank all of my contributors, Thist and Jules this week. We didn't have any Hearthstone, so Joss wasn't here. We will have Hearthstone when we come back in 2 weeks. 2 weeks' time. We will have a lot of Hearthstone, probably, because we have the new expansion to talk about as it relates to all the tournament play. We'll talk about all the big different decks that we see in the tournament coming up. And that will be great. And we will also have all of the results from the different playoffs happening in HGC and the Crucible as well. So we have playoffs at HGC, and then we have the Crucible, and we'll have Mythic Dungeon Invitational stuff to talk about. We will definitely have Overwatch League to talk about. Come on. Of course. And more. And I think even maybe some WoW stuff as it happens. So look at that. Everything's coming back for the next show in 2 weeks right here. Thank you so much for watching or listening or whatever you're doing with this program. Definitely appreciate you, and I hope that you have a fantastic day. Until next time, for all the guys that convert to raid, bye-bye, everybody. Bye-bye.